What is shaking? Welcome to another round of MTGA Tasting Notes. This is a wine that I haven't been able to make in a couple of years. Unfortunately, there was a little thing in 2020 that swept through the area, and those were some fires, and that basically prevented me from making this wine. We did make a little bit of Pinot Noir that year, but because of just the craziness that was that harvest season, we weren't able to cut anything from those lots to make a single barrel Pinot Noir. But guess what? 2021 came around and we were able to do just that. 2021 was an outstanding vintage for us. And to be able to dive back into our Pinot Noir program and make our single barrel Pinot Noir was just, I was a kid in a candy shop. Now, if you've sat down and tasted with me before, you know that I describe Pinot Noir as like the angsty teenager of winemaking. It loves to think it knows better than you. It loves to kind of punch and kick and scream, and you just have to kind of let it do its thing, tucker itself out, and learn from its experiences. The thing with the single barrel Pinot Noir though, is I do try to be a little bit more of that guiding hand. I tend to be a little bit more hands-on, but I don't try and force it in a direction that it's not gonna go. So when it comes to picking this wine out of the barrels of Pinot Noir that we have in the cellar, it's which one can I guide and kind of mold and shape to be this style of wine. Now, the difference with this single barrel Pinot Noir is that it is just one type of Pinot Noir. For those of you that have perused some of our previous Pinot Noir vintages in our tasting notes, you may be familiar with that. We use a couple different clonal selections or types of Pinot Noir to create our final blend. Typically, this single barrel Pinot Noir is just one of those, and that is the 667 clone. The way I describe the 667 clone is that's basically the glue that holds our Pinot Noir program together. It's very well structured, there's great fruit characteristics, it plays in a lot of different fields in terms of its overall complexity. It's definitely a clone or a type of Pinot Noir that you can bottle up on its own, no problem, in my opinion. Where some of the other ones, maybe they're a little bit too fruity and they need some backbone, or maybe there's too much structure, they're too intense and they need a little bit more body to round them out. This one doesn't have that problem. That 667 just runs, and it is amazing to work with. Now, as is tradition with our Barrel Select and our single barrel program, we use a lot of new oak when it comes to this. And that's really because these wines are a little bigger, a little bolder, and more complex, and they can stand up to that bigger, bolder oak program and become just yummier all the way around. So this saw 100% new French oak. It was a Gamba medium plus toast barrel that we utilized for it. Something that it's been a staple, that particular barrel in our program for a long time. Something that I love using for our Pinot Noir in particular, and just adds these really beautiful characteristics. Now, with the combination of the complexity of this clone and this single barrel and that new barrel, you get these really nice, deep, kind of rich flavors. Right away, because it's relatively young, again, being the 2021 vintage, we just bottled this up. It would have been in late August, early September of 2022 is when this was bottled, just after a year of barrel aging. It was just in a beautiful spot. It was big, it was rich, it was very well integrated. Because of its young age, the oak does pop on it a little bit more. You're gonna notice a little more of those toasty characteristics out of the gate, and those fruit characteristics kind of come right behind it. And this is just, it's full. Like there's not like a peak or a valley, it's just a full-bodied Pinot Noir. That's the full effect. Especially if you kind of swish it around your mouth like I do. I kind of like use wine as mouthwash, especially when I take the first sip of something. It's like I want to get the full feeling of a wine. And you notice the tannin a lot more. It's got some really nice kind of grip to it. It's definitely drier in style. Really bright, very beautiful red fruit characteristics in this wine. It doesn't go too far into kind of the jammy kind of, it does not even go towards like the jammy side of things. It's very nice and bright and very, very fresh. I'd almost describe it as like if you've ever eaten like a strawberry that's like not underripe, but it's not like juicy. It's like this perfect, just like kind of tart, but not really. Strawberry. That's like the first thing that comes to mind. And it just kind of continues to evolve. The thing I do love about this Pinot Noir in particular is that if you kind of sit back, relax a little bit, even after like 30 seconds, like just now, you give it a few more swirls, you take another sip, you're like, oh, there's like even more going on in there. Our Pinot Noirs, especially this single barrel Pinot, they really tend to evolve more and more just as they open up, as they get a little bit more airtime. Now, interestingly enough, it's a question we get pretty often, is this is not necessarily a wine I would decant. I don't think you need to throw it into a decanter, but I would say kind of treat it like you would a good whiskey or a scotch or something of that nature, where you're just kind of sipping on it. You're just kind of kicking back, give it a swirl every once in a while, give it a sip, put it down, kind of kick back, relax, come back to it a couple minutes later, rinse and repeat. It's definitely a wine that you can just enjoy. You don't have to pair it up with a big meal or any food. It's just gonna be great on its own. That being said, you know, as I do try and make our Pinot Noir in a style that if you are having a great meal, going out to dinner, whatever the case may be, you can bring this along with you and it's gonna treat you just fine as well. So incredibly thrilled that this is back in our lineup after that 1 year hiatus. The 2021 single barrel Pinot Noir from the Black Knight Vineyard, just everything that I would possibly want in a Pinot Noir. I'm very lucky and thankful that I get to put my stamp and kind of my own stylistic, I guess, themes into making Pinot Noir. Something that's an incredible chore because of how much a pain in the butt Pinot Noir is to make. But when you get something like this in the bottle and you get to actually kick back and enjoy it a little bit, it's worth the challenges.